Baby, you don't know what you do to me. Between me and you, I feel like chemistry. I won't let no one.
All on. You can't hear. All right. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are
I
you?
am
Thanks for
doing.
having me on.
Huh?
Thanks for having me on.
No, no, no. Thank you so much for joining in. Okay, awesome, awesome. Thanks so much for joining in. As we get the other ladies into the room, you can go ahead and just say who you are, and what do you do. All right, and we'll be hopping everybody into the chat here.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I am Mel Shipman. I am a certified life coach and mindset coach. I work primarily with women leaders and entrepreneurs and help them with their life goals, business goals, and any other things that they have in store for their future. But mostly I work on their mindset to get them actually going that direction.
Yes, I absolutely love it. As a female leader, like that is just so critical to be able to have someone that can keep you focused and on track and high, like high energy, right? All right,
Yeah.
and we have been joined now by Keisha and by Bree. Keisha, if you want to go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what do you do.
Sure. So my name is Keisha Garrison. I am an event MC and also a speaker on the topic of personal empowerment and personal discovery. I'm out here in the sunny Seattle area.
Wait,
I am a
you said
mom.
it's Seattle? Seattle and Sunny don't go together.
Sunny
Hold
Seattle. It's sunny today. And yeah, that's me. I've been doing this work for quite a while. I have a background in tech. I'm also a stand-up comedian. I'm a woman of many talents. That's who I am.
I love it. She said, I'm all the things. I am phenomenal. Hear me roar. No, absolutely. All right. And last but not least,
Hi, everyone. My name is Brianna Fewell. I'm a sophomore computer science major and Spanish minor at the illustrious #1 HBCU in the nation, Spelman College. I also attend Georgia Tech as an Air Force ROTC cadet, which is where I'm at now. It kind of consumes my time, so I'm at the detachment 24/7. I also own a production company that I started back in 2020 called AB Chit Chat Productions that kind of focuses on starting the conversation that a lot of people are too uncomfortable to start or don't have the platform to amplify their own voices.
wow. Oh my goodness. And y'all, these are the ladies of She. And we have the incredible founder, Latanya. Instagram is just such a hater, right? And it does not allow you to have more than four boxes. Like, what on earth? And unfortunately, my platform, my streaming platform, does not partner with Instagram. So she'll be on here live in the chat. And probably towards the end, we'll find a way, some room to get her on.
We can
Okay.
switch
Yeah.
out. You won't even know the difference. We look alike. So at some
Yeah.
point, I guess at 8:30, I'll go off and she'll come on. Is that okay with you?
Yes, yes, that'll work out great. That'll work out great. Okay, so I just want to hear all about She. Like, how did you even? How does everybody know, Latanya? How did you get connected? I'd love to hear about that. I love how do we connect stories?
Well, I know Tanya from college. We were classmates at Spelman, and so that means I've known Tanya since I was 18 years old, which was
Wow.
a couple of days ago. So it's been quite a while, and we were really close. And then we, went into different corners of the earth for a while, and then we ended up kind of reconnecting and realizing that in that reconnection, we were both in a space where we worked a lot with just pouring into women, pouring into Black women, that we had a lot of hard work in common. And so she was the one who brought me in and told me all about what she was working on with She. And I was like, that sounds right in my alley. So I loved joining in.
Yeah, incredible.
I'll go next. I probably know Tanya the shortest amount of time, but she was actually one of my coaching clients that I had a few years back. And so we worked together as she was getting her businesses in order and everything. And so we somehow kept in touch with each other over these last few years and supported each other in our own initiatives. And it was just an absolute honor and pleasure for her to reach out and ask me if I would be a part of her conference.
Oh, that's super neat. Super, super neat. Kind of full circle, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's not every day that your client asks you to do something with her. It was definitely a special treat.
Okay, so we have a longtime classmate that reconnected, a coach, and then her twin.
I think I have all of you guys beat. I think I knew her for about 20 years now. But yes, I really enjoyed watching She kind of evolve from what it was. It started mostly as like a women's ministry in the church, and my mom loved her vision for it. And so she was like, I'm not just going to stop here. I'm going to watch it grow. And so it's really inspiring watching her say something and then watching it happen. It's truly an answered prayer. My spring break or the She conference was truly like an answered prayer.
Yeah. So I'd love to just kind of, keep the conversation right there on that point with, because that's such a strong statement, right? She conference was such an answered prayer. Can you elaborate on that? What is that, what was that experience really like?
Absolutely. While being a part of it, in the collegiate age, oftentimes you think women's conferences aren't tailored towards you, and if they are, then they're specifically for your age type. Some way, somehow, She brought every generation together, and we all learned something. My grandmother's age group, they really got to relax and just stop working for a second, which is something I know that my grandmother really, really needs, considering that she's retired, but she's still working. I don't understand that. Maybe I will when I'm older. But
my grandma for a little bit.
My mom's generation definitely got a chance to find a sisterhood and a bond within each other. And my generation definitely had a chance to reset and realize that we're not alone in what we're going through, and there's nothing new under the sun, and we always have people to go through. And then my sister, or I guess my sister's in my generation, but the next generation was also there. We had toddlers there, truly just enjoying the freedom of being a girl, being surrounded by girls and being safe in a place where you can just be yourself. And so an answered prayer, meaning that everyone got exactly what they needed, and my mom got to make sure that she was sharing the fruits of her labor with everyone who was there.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I know Tanya's watching right now, and I'm a mama, and so I know I would be like, oh my God, my baby said that about me. And so Keisha, I'd love to hear about I think we're of the same generation, yourself, myself, and maybe Mel. And so hearing that piece of women in our generation were able to know what it means to have sisterhood, right? How do you receive that? And what is that piece of it? And do you agree with that statement?
I absolutely agree with it. One of my favorite things about the She experience was the multi-generational aspect of it, and getting to talk to other women at different points in their life and understand how different but similar our needs were. Getting into the nuances of talking to someone from my mother's generation, but not my mama, so we can have the conversation that I need to have with my mom without some of the emotional risk that can come with that. So I got unfiltered commentary from women in a generation that I very desperately need to hear from. And I got to share from my point of view with them, and they had such questions that they want to ask their kids, or they had been having these conversations with their children, but we could have it in a more open way because this environment was all about, we're here to learn from each other. And that multi-generational aspect of it was truly a gift. I think that's one of the most special gifts of this experience, was that space to be together with that many generations in one room.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Having the uncomfortable conversation, right,
Yeah.
through someone that was not your mom, and so there's not that defense mechanism that's there. I think is super important. And you know, as women of color, we're all, you know, women of color, and dealing in a working living through an environment that does not always understand who we are. So we go through just different experiences, and it's really, really hard to share that, you know, cross-culturally. For you, Mel, you know, what are some, I guess, conversational pieces that maybe you didn't feel comfortable having, you know, with your mom, that you know, you might have been able to walk away kind of maybe understanding her a little bit more from this?
Yeah. So I would echo what Brianna and Keisha have already said, and just add to it that for me, the multi-generational factor of this conference, one, I think makes this a very rare and nuanced conference that you don't find everywhere, and that is a really unique driver as to why a woman should go, a woman of any age should. But in addition to those conversations that you can have, because the people in the room may be of a generation in which you can get that guidance and that wisdom from, without, you know, feeling, you know, maybe too vulnerable of having some backlash given at you. I think what was really also unique about this conference is that in the conversations I had, whether it was with a teenage girl who was, you know, maybe in middle school or high school, and, you know, the pressures that she was feeling in her world, or a woman that was maybe more in the same place in life that I was, or a woman that is in a different place than I was, I think we all managed to put down and leave judgment at the door. And I think that's what allowed all of us to be so open with each other. And so it was really this concentrated time for sisterhood to really actually come to life and be expressed through our interactions with each other, with no fear of it ever, you know, coming back to us in a negative way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made this conference so powerful, was because you really could have the conversations that you have been keeping in your heart, and feel safe to hear someone else's perspective or thoughts, or even in a way maybe be challenged in a safe way about what you're going through or what you've been dealing with. And I think that's what made this conference so powerful for all of the women who came.
Yeah. I keep hearing the recurring theme, sisterhood and breaking down boundaries, and it's a very recurring thing. Were there like key words that?
Well, it was breaking down barriers, not boundaries. We were building up boundaries.
Yes.
Building up boundaries.
We wanted
the
boundaries.
Yes, those we want.
We set those.
One of the words that was kind of a theme was secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So sisterhood and secrets was something that we talked about a lot. From a place of secrets being things that sometimes we're carrying secrets that hold us back, or they really weigh us down. Yeah. Sometimes it's a secret that is about us. Sometimes it's a family secret. But we had an exercise where we made it safe for people to kind of share secrets that they're carrying and release some of those things into just get it out of you. This is one of those areas where I think it was really fun for me as a host to work with Tanya on getting some of the details of the activities worked out, because we're both very aligned on this. Let's create a space where people can feel comfortable sharing. Yeah. And for this secrets exercise, you didn't put your name on the secret. It was something that you can, let's create a way for somebody to just fully share what is on your mind, what are you carrying around? And we wanted to have people have an opportunity to just speak life into someone after hearing those secrets. So we're there in the room with each other, hearing secrets, not knowing who they are from, but really addressing those things that are real and coming up in people's lives, because we walk around with all of these things that we don't talk about, and then it becomes shame, and the shame becomes a weight, and it just kind of becomes a rotten side of you. So having this opportunity to be in a room with people where you can release some of the things in an anonymous way, I think it was really powerful.
Yeah. How do you feel that shame kind of weighs you down, and how does it impact lives?
It becomes something that you need to defend. It almost like once you have this thing that you want no one to know, that you don't feel good about, now it becomes this thing that you have a tension on defending it. And people don't usually defend that thing in a healthy way. Or it's when you are able to not be focused on what am I hiding, instead you can kind of turn yourself towards what do I want to express in the world and who do I want to go be. You're not focusing as much on what do I not want anyone to know about me, because this is the unforgivable thing. Everybody has something like that.
Yeah.
And when you're able to realize and connect with other people in that vulnerable space, it is empowering to feel like you can lock arms with other people and know, oh, you too? You're not perfect either, or your family got all this crap in the backyard. Like, I'm not alone in this experience. There's power in that. There's power in community and walking forward with knowing that you're not the only one walking around with something that you'd rather people not know.
Yeah, and that goes back to the sisterhood, right? And being able to connect and say, my experience is not just my own. Like, other people have really gone through this, and so if you've gone through it and you have been able to overcome, how did that happen, right? And then gaining that thought process and working through that and saying, okay, well, maybe I can try some of these methods, or maybe I can find a way to work through it. Because you're right, a lot of times we walk around with this shame, with this guilt, thinking that no one else has gone through this thing, but no, you wouldn't understand. But the moment that you can break down those barriers.
Don't get Brie on you again. Barriers.
Yes, barriers.
But you got it exactly. It connects you to the resources, the insight, the information you need when you're able to say, this is the thing I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
When you keep it to yourself, you can't get the help you need. And so that is exactly right.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I started and continue with Sips and Conversations, because it's like we are all going through the same thing. And so how can we pour into one another, right? Bria, you had mentioned, you being, you're 20 years old, right? Light years. I got 18 years on you. Okay. And you are just you seem so wise and just so poised. I was not that way whatsoever at your age. And so would you say that from this experience, how do you feel that your generation falls within the experience category, right? Like, are your experiences the same experiences that, people of your mother's generation, my generation, went through at the exact same age? Or would you say that you guys you're more mature, more ahead, you're having these life experiences sooner?
I would love to answer that. First thing, though, I don't really like being called Bree. Just Brianna, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But also for this question, I think it's really great to think about it, because the situation that we were put in to share each other's secrets was anonymous. And then not only that, but we were split up into groups to give advice as if that person was in the middle of the group. And so when we were talking about experiences that people had gone through, we had no idea who was going through it. And so we hit lighter topics, as in like relationship topics, and then we hit heavier topics such as suicide. However, suicide isn't reserved for a certain age, and everyone in that room had gone through a relationship at some point, whether it be platonic or, romantic or anything. So when it came to the actual She Conference, because that barrier was broken down, we got to see that everyone in the room is a person who is going through something. You don't need to know what it is specifically, and you don't need to know at what point were they battling this. It's just you at some point were going through this, and oh my gosh, me too. I'm 20 years old and I went through that as well. But the person who might have said it may have been from my grandmother's generation. And so my favorite part about the She Conference was that I did not feel 20 years old. I felt like a woman. I felt like everyone in that room was a woman. And I wasn't a little girl anymore, which was awesome because I got to relate my experiences to everyone else in that room. Regarding whether or not I feel as if in general my generation goes through things faster, I think so. But I think that's because we are in a efficiency generation where it's like we need it now, we need it fast, and because that we get the consequences like now and fast. The internet helps a lot with that. Our accessibility to knowledge. The more you know, the more you get hurt. You know, like the ignorance is bliss type vibe. So I do think we go through things a whole lot faster, and some people deal with it differently than others.
Yeah. And so that's where like Mel, right? Like you kind of come in that space and say, okay, how do you kind of scope all that and allow someone to optimize their skill set? What was really kind of, based on what was just said, like how would you mentor, I guess, someone of the, of the generation below us?
She's actually my coach. So easily. The answer, she would do it easily.
I was like, well.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it is. And I actually just texted her like an hour ago saying, hey, when are we going to have our next session? So that's a really good question, because in my coaching practice, I've had the privilege to work with a wide range of women, leaders and entrepreneurs. And over the last year or so, I've been able to expand my reach and whom I actually get to serve, Brianna being one of them. And it's very interesting to see the themes and the patterns that get carried throughout a woman's life. And you hear the same thing in a woman that is in her 40s and 50s being spoken in a young woman that's in her 20s and maybe even entering her 30s. And so what I have learned is that, one, you have to meet people where they're at. But two, you have to understand, one, what is their current understanding of their self? And also, what is their current belief in where they can go from where they're at now? Because the one thing that I can't do as a coach is drag you into your destiny. I believe that you can go farther, you can do great things, and that you have the ability to, have an amazing and successful life. If you don't believe that for yourself, there's only so much I can do, and I cannot love your life more than you love it yourself. And so you have to, in those instances where you find someone is in a emotionally hard place, it's one of those things where as a coach, you have a relationship a little bit so that the person can seek professional mental health services and work through some of that emotional issues that's causing the blockage, because that's not within a coach's scope of practice. But the other thing that we do as coaches is we it's not like we don't talk about issues or challenges. We talk about it in the framework of how do we use this as a launch pad to spring you forward into where you want to go. And so what I've learned is that no matter where they're at in life, their age or whatever issues they're currently facing, it's understanding how can I take you 1 step further, 10 steps further, 1 mile further, but you dictate how far you want to go based on how far you believe you can go.
Oh, mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset is so key. And I'd really like to kind of maybe put a pin right there and kind of bring up Mrs. Mindset herself. So Brianna, do you have any last words? And then we're gonna.
No, I don't think I do. This was very insightful, and I love talking about my mom and all the things that she's doing. So I'm really glad that we got to have this. Hopefully all of you guys will be at SHE next year, because it's going to be bigger and better.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you so very much, and have fun. I can't believe you're right down the road. I'm like waving at you.
Are you in Atlanta?
I I was right before I moved across the border to the Bama. I was in Peachtree City.
Nice.
So I was just right there.
I'm in
Yeah.
Bama every other week. I'll be there this weekend.
Oh,
I love
wow.
Alabama. I graduated high school in Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am. So you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
Peachtree. Hey.
Hey. Yeah, I will connect in chat here. But
course.
yeah, have a good evening. Thanks so much.
Bye, y'all. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Yes.
Let's see if this works. How tech savvy am I?
This is a test.
Most
This is an
likely more
Instagram
tech
test.
savvy. Yeah.
Right?
I'm always happy when I manage to get on one of these lives successfully.
It's like such
I
a.
did it. I did it.
I just want to make sure that I can. It's hopefully we're not. There we go. Am I clicking? Okay. Well, while I'm figuring this out, Keisha, how was it to host so many different women?
Yes. I'm a host by trade, and so I always, am excited to do that work. This, when it comes to being a space holder, I would say, for a group of women, and we were like in a large space living there together for a couple of days. So it's a lot of energy that you have to put into something like that. But it was definitely returned tenfold because there was a lot of warmth. There was a lot of love. There was a lot of spontaneity and willingness to kind of like just participate in things in an interesting way. We would just have like chant competitions and just feel like sisterhood was just breaking out all over the place.
Wait, what's a chant competition like?
Oh my God.
We had the ladies get into some groups and make some she conference. I want to call it a chant, but it's that almost diminishes it because they were coming with choreography. Okay,
What?
It was more like many she chant shows, and I was just so impressed. I wasn't prepared for it to go where it went, but when we put groups of amazing women who were kind of on fire together, they ended up doing some pretty cool stuff. So I love moments like that, just being surprised and delighted by what the women brought to the experience, because there's only so much you can do as the host. You come and you try to, signal to people what the vibe is.
Yep.
But what gets returned back to you is really dependent on who is in the room and what their intentions were.
Yeah.
Do they really, are they really plugged in here? And these women were fantastic and warm and loving. And I think that it's very well expressed by a moment at the end of the conference. We had a massage therapist there because, we need the hands on us. We need the relaxation. And we were, honoring people, giving some gifts. And before the masseuse won one of the gifts, and she was up standing in the front with me. And Mel gives me the look, and she just like, can we lay hands on this woman for us? Because she had massaged all these women at this conference for days. So I'm like, say less. We all rise and have her in the middle in a circle while we return energy back to her.
Wow.
And things like that, I think when people can just recognize, like, it was even like a second thought. Everybody was like, yep, they just got up and did it, because the feeling of returning and giving sisterhood and showing love in the degrees that it's been shown to you, it just was a beautiful flow. So I felt that too as the host. I felt loved back for the love and the energy that I was giving to everybody.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love that. You said something that I really was able to relate to. Actually, a few things. One, as a host, there's times where people are not matching your energy, and you are.
You got nothing to work with.
Like, okay, come on.
You got your best tap dance on. Like, oh, okay. What about this?
It's like, okay, yeah, and it's just like crickets, and it's so frustrating. And so to be able to host such a variety of women and not even feel frustrated or flustered, and just to be there, everyone was on good vibes and had that good energy, positive energy. Like, I can totally be like, oh my goodness, yeah, I can appreciate that. for you. And then the other piece that you were saying, like, you know, laying the hands on the person that was ensuring that you were provided for. Whew, like that is a lot, because a lot of times, you know, as women, we are so terrible about taking care of ourselves and ensuring that our needs are met. We're always thinking about everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just the symbolism of, no, let me pour into you. Again, it goes back to sisterhood. Like that, that's just so powerful.
I feel like even saying we worry, we do. I feel like people worry about other people all the time. But I love when the thought can turn to an action like this. It's like, it didn't cost us very much of anything to return this love in this way. I love that, okay, there was a thought that happened. How can we support and pour into someone? Now there's an action we can do, and then we do it. I think people feel thought about a lot, and like actions don't always happen. So then we all just in a corner worrying about ourselves, worrying about them. But this community moment in action felt so good to be a part of.
Yeah, community moment in action. Yeah, that's golly, that's just so. You're saying all the things that like feed my soul as I'm sitting here still working through my technical issues here. Let me see.
I will say as well, the person that we had done that for, it was intentional because she had shared earlier with the group that she had lived a lot of her life not really having long established relationships with other women. And it was really through no fault of her own. It was just the way that her childhood was and everything. But she never really had the chance as a younger person to develop long-standing relationships with other females, and that theme just sort of carried over into her adult years. And so everything that she does, she really puts it on her own shoulders and makes it her own responsibility to carry all of that weight. And so the thing about doing anything for yourself, such as going to a conference or, you know, any sort of way that you invest in yourself to learn and grow, to Keisha's point, if theory does not turn into action and action does not turn into consistent behavior, then it really just becomes knowledge that you absorbed, but not wisdom that you apply. And so the action of just coming together and laying hands on her was really for her to understand that you may have lived up to this very moment in time, this very second, thinking that you will never have long-standing relationships with women or that you'll never have close connections with other women. But you do not have to leave this house, this conference, this day, still believing that same thing. And so to have that physical expression of other people returning what she does for others on a daily basis and giving what we have of ourselves and giving it back to her. I didn't want her to leave this conference unchanged in that area because of how much it affects the way that she thinks about herself and runs her life. So that was intentional for her to look at her future state differently than how it had been up to this point.
Wow, that is just so beautiful. How did you get started in this line of work? As you're talking now, like you're just so connected to feeding women's souls, and I'm just like, how did that even begin?
Oh, it's so funny you said the word feeding. Have we met before? So I think by nature, God made me an encourager. It's something that comes naturally to me. And I do have a very strong passion for food and feeding others. I love to cook. I run a social impact organization called Life and Ladle, It's my way of fighting hunger in my community.
Oh, wow.
And my journey of learning how to connect with someone else's spirit or their soul was really just through my own personal walk with Jesus and learning more about how he sees me as a person. And so that's really been the bedrock of everything that I do. The purpose that I feel that I have in this world, my personal assignment, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. But when I became a coach, it was at a time in my life where I felt like my identity was being unraveled and I didn't really know who I was anymore. And all the things that I had established my identity in was literally like disintegrating before my eyes. And I went through my certification program to become a life coach, and all of the pieces have been coming together, but it's been about 10 years now since I've been doing this type of work. And it just becomes more and more apparent that the further we go in this world that we live in, where we think we're connecting with each other, but we may not be genuinely connecting with each other, the more that we need to intentionally develop that skill of genuine connection. And that's what I loved about this conference, was that there was nothing else that kept us from genuinely connecting with each other. And in doing so, we learned also how to connect back to ourselves.
Wow. I heard once that if you are a coach, coaches should always have a student because it allows them to continue to learn. You're always looking to learn, so you can continue to teach. It's just like ever, this continuous cycle. What are your thoughts with what was just kind of said, Keisha, surrounding intentional and true? Oh my gosh, I'm trying to use the word that you used. Encounters or truly caring, right? Being like truly there for someone. One thing about me is if someone says, "How are you doing?" Like I don't do the, "Oh, I'm fine," and keep moving. Sometimes I might, but if I know you or "How are you doing?" Okay, well, today has been a wonderful day because da 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 da. Like I'm very expressive of that. But and I don't often ask people how they're doing anymore, because when I do that, I want to be intentional about stopping and listening to what you say.
Yeah, the "how you doing" question, I feel like it's one of the small ways we practice lying all the time.
Oh.
And you get used to the muscle of lying by giving that really quick "I'm fine." I know it feels like a strong word to call it a lie, but it is often not the truth. And so you daily, multiple times a day, builds up a muscle to tell a lie about how you really are. I definitely recognize it as this is something that I have muscle memory around now, is lying about how I currently am feeling and doing. And that starts to, creep into other things about who you are and what you really like. And even think about for women, situations where you're with an intimate partner. People, no, it's you just going along. I think we practice the lying so much that it almost doesn't even feel like we're lying anymore. So being really intentional and really real means you have to stop. You kind of have to pause and think about what you're saying about how you're feeling, what you're saying when you describe who you are to somebody, what you're saying about when you say if you like something or you don't like something. No, I don't want to go. Be okay.
Yes.
No, I don't want to go there and do that. Oh, I know you're disappointed. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Practicing telling the truth for you so that you have to be able to be real in that way so that you can be that way for and with other people. As the intentionality for me, that's one of my big value words. I have like 10 core values. I have 10 values and then 3 core ones. But there was a time where I didn't have intentional intentionality as one of the values. And last year I just swapped that one in because I was like, no, that is core to my being. I want to parent with intention. I want to work with intention, everything. I want to really be clear about what am I trying to do right now?
Yeah.
And so even that question, how are you? I will, this is the other part of it. Then I might hide from y'all because I'm like, I don't want to answer the question. So now I'm going to disappear because you don't want to really know how I'm doing this week. Like this week, because some people came to my house, one of my good friends, and I was like, man, I don't really want to tell them how I'm doing. I told myself intentionally, I am going to try to just make it through this visit, not answering that question. I'm just going to kind of like skate with it and just check in on him because I don't want to really tell him I'm depressed because he's going to be worried. I went outside to help him get some stuff out of the car. Why was I telling him before we even got in the house? I couldn't do it. I've trained myself too much to just be like, just say what's going on.
Yeah.
Just in a trusted space, of course, just say what's going on. So that intentionality is really, really important to me. That was a lot of words to answer your question, but
no, that was great. No, that was great. I have to know do you mind sharing what your core values are?
Oh my gosh. So I would say empathy is a big one.
Ooh, yeah.
Empathy, courage is another big one.
Yeah.
I feel like I just went through my big 10 lists and I scrubbed them. Blackness is on the list.
You say blackness?
Blackness. Because what happens is you get a list. There's like, oh, I want to write down my core values. And then there's all these suggestions.
Yeah.
And that one wasn't on there. And I was like, but that's really important to me. So I'm a just make that one. So when I do value setting exercises with people, I make sure to tell them, like, I'm leaving you some blank lines on this list of suggestions because I want you to put what's true for you. And I was like, I can't have a list of values without putting blackness on there.
Why is that? So why was that so important to you?
Because being Black, being seen as Black in the world, living in a world that has socialized us in the ways that we have, there is not a corner of my life that's not impacted by the fact that I'm a Black woman. And so being Black, it's a cultural choice to lean into it. Like there's a Blackness that's put on me that is, something that somebody don't want, but there is a cultural excitement and wonder and deliciousness that I get to own when I just lean into, this is my cultural, yes, I am Black. That is a part of who I am as a person. And that comes with a real awareness of the way that I need to move in this world. It's part of my survival. It's part of my joy. It's a lot. I don't want somebody to meet me and be like, oh, she doesn't enjoy being Black. I'm like, no, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it because there's enough people trying to make me not love it. I'm like, no, I'm in. All in.
No, I love that. I had to stop you there. Okay. Because I'm just like, I have never heard anybody say, no, Blackness is a list of my core values. I freaking love it. And I might steal that. Actually. I'm definitely stealing that one. All right. What else you got?
So I don't know if I said humor, but I definitely, humor and laughter is big for me. I don't like to be places where people are stuffy and don't enjoy themselves. Clarity is big for me. Being very clear, connection. I don't know how many I've already done. I don't think I've gotten to all 10, but those are that's a good sampling of what I'm working with. Courage is the top of the list.
Tanya says she's taking Blackness too. Okay.
Yes, courage sits on the top of the whole list.
Why is that the top?
I'm sold on what Maya Angelou said years ago, that you can't practice any of the other virtues without courage. Like you need courage to love, you need courage to want to connect, like all the things that you endeavor to do takes some degree of courage. And like people will say, oh, you move so fearlessly through life. And it's like, nope, I sure don't. I am afraid all the time. But that thing that you see is courage. It's me seeing that something is difficult, something is risky, something is concerning, and I'm still doing it anyway because I am tapping into my courage reserves. And if I wasn't courageous, I feel like my life would be tiny, and I didn't want a tiny life. And so for me to keep on like opening new doors, exposing myself to new people that I didn't know, oh, stranger danger. for me to be able to like continue to open the doors to new worlds, I just had to keep being courageous and keep putting myself out there, keep being willing to be called weird or stupid or whatever it is. I just feel like it's one of the keys, and it rides shotgun with vulnerability.
Yeah, courage and vulnerability. Those two, the fact that you put those two words together is pretty significant. Do you have any core values, Mel?
Yes, I I don't know if I have a full list of 10.
Yeah, I mean that is
but
so good.
right, I was like,
make
oh
people
wow.
prioritize 3 of the 10. Because I'm like, there's got to be 3 that mean a lot more to you than them other ones.
Yeah, I guess I would say, yeah, I mean, courage, I guess I say bravery is maybe my particular word. And then peace. I have gone through enough stuff in my own life to where I have learned never to put my peace on the table as a bargaining chip.
Yeah, that's so good.
That is sacred to me, to preserve. It goes in a black box, and if the plane crashes, I will always have my peace. And then also trust and faithfulness. There's something that irks me when people feel safe to be dishonest, whether it's with another person or with themselves. To Keisha's point, when you have this daily practice of lying, and I think faithfulness gets impacted by a person's ease of deception, whether it's self-deception or others' deception. And so, yeah, those I think would be the ones that really are the most important to me, that I probably could not live joyfully without having those things.
No, I'm definitely going to steal some too. Bravery. I'm just going to create a list based on what y'all are saying. Peace is huge for me. And what I struggle with peace is that I struggle with, do I value peace to a detriment? Right? And that's something that I've had to learn to just start working through, because, many years ago, I exited a relationship, and once I was able to find my peace, I remember I had nothing, literally. I'm sleeping on the floor, like on an air mat. I had nothing. And, but I was at peace, right? And I was like, I am never not going to have this feeling again. I'm just not. So I won't deal with, there's a lot that I don't deal with when it comes to relationships, right? Like romantic relationships, because I'm like, what you're not going to do is mess with my peace. And I constantly have to challenge my mindset to be like, okay, Nancy, are you bugging right now? Is this right? Like, and so do you think that, what is that balance between finding peace or holding on to your peace and being practical at the same time, with the fact that, like, the world is going to throw you some sour lemons, right, from time to time, and you can't always dodge them?
Sure. Number one, I completely relate to your story. I left an abusive marriage 5 years ago, and had to completely start over. I became a single mom of 2. My youngest wasn't even a year old. And at the time, I also left my corporate job and took a job at a nonprofit, which meant a big cut in my salary. And I found myself able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment, but I didn't have a room to myself. I slept on the couch for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And so I understand where you're at, having to start all the way over and having literally nothing but your peace.
Yeah.
And I would say that if you had to go through what you had to go through to understand the value of your peace and what it means to you. If you had to understand how much peace was to the very essence of your survival,
Yes.
then it doesn't become a battle between being peaceful and being practical. And you don't have to make it butt up against each other and leave you in this frictional state of deciding whether or not do I stay in a state of peace or do I practice practicality.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more about understanding, because I know what I almost lost and how important it is to me to never lose that again.
Yeah.
Then that becomes that boundary that you have to set with others, becomes that standard of living that you will refuse to live less than and not go underneath that line.
Yeah.
That's your sea level.
Yeah.
And if that means that as the world throws you sour lemons and you're getting more sour lemons, well, I mean, lemons are kind of sour anyway. So let's use a fruit that's not supposed to be sour. Strawberries. We prefer sweet strawberries over sour ones,
Yes,
right?
yes.
If the world is sending you truckloads of sour strawberries and every now and then you get a pack of really good sweet ones,
Yeah.
then don't beat yourself up for turning away those trucks. Because what will happen then is you will begin to feel obligated to make space in your life for a bunch of sour strawberries, and then you will have to go hunting amongst the inventory for the sweet pack.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it hard for yourself to have the peace or the sweetness of joy in life.
Yeah.
And you can choose what comes in and out of your life. And so if you know, if there's something that rises up within you that says, you know what, this is not the right situation, this is not the right room, this is not the right relationship, this is not the right conversation, you have to honor that your true self is trying to tell your physical self something important, and that act of listening and heeding your inner voice and that intuition is a practice of honoring who you really are and showing the true Nancy that I will stand by your side no matter what. And I will not abandon or sacrifice you anymore for the comfort of somebody else.
Oh my gosh. Look.
I want to say some things. I want to add.
Go ahead.
I want to let you soak it in, but I also want to add to this that we are conditioned in this world, in this society, that we are not enough. Like, the systems are set up so that you can't rely on yourself. You need other people and community and things to survive. And so finding that peace and being like, okay, I'm here. I've cleared out a lot. I'm by myself. I have peace, but oh no, I have needs. But then we get conditioned to channel the desire to get all of those needs met inside of typically a romantic relationship. Mm-hmm. And then we're on this hunt to solve all these things that are more that have more options. If you can be creative and think outside of what the script says I'm supposed to be doing, you can get creative and get your needs met, your world kind of full in a way that doesn't disturb your daily peace. Like, I don't need the sour strawberry to move in my house and put things in my closet and stuff in my fridge. And now here we are every day because I had to have this romantic relationship thing work out because that's what it's supposed to be. I'm not saying don't desire a partnership, but I just see how the math formula seems to go, where it's like, wow, you find this peace, but then it's almost like, am I doing it wrong? Am I supposed to be this happy as an individual? And it's like, it's really healthy to figure out and be able to hear yourself and hear your own soul and clear space, and you be like, what do I need as a being? And when you hear that stuff and you get that clarity, it's in your best interest not to negate it and say, well, okay, maybe not that part. Maybe I should let that piece go so I can have someone close to me. And it's like, no, like, lean into it.
Yeah.
My spirit needs this to be at peace. I'm so glad I know that now. Now I can design a life that doesn't disturb this thing that I just learned about myself. That's what I want people to go do.
Look, ladies. Oh my God. Like,
I can't even
I'm suffering
snap.
with sinuses right now and just taking it all in. And I can feel, I consider myself to be an empath of sorts, right? And so I can actually feel the energy and the intentionality behind what the both of you are saying. And where I correlate that to is there's so many times these days that women are made to feel less than because of, or because you have not, right? And people don't ask, like, okay, how, it's always, oh, are you in a relationship? Or, okay, why are you not in a relationship? Or you get all these questions that are being asked, and it's like, no, just why can't we ask other questions? Like you're saying, like, what makes you happy? What brings you peace? And, what are your interests? And instead of being so heavily focused on the voids, right, that we think other people have. That right there, that was so great. It's just crazy because I've not been able to bring Tanya on.
Was she able to request to join?
Yeah, we kept on trying. I don't know if it's a signal thing, but what I will say is I'm really huge about there's a reason for everything, right? And while we had one reason for our conversation, yes, she's here, and she's present for our conversation. I'm just thinking in my mind, like, how would it have gone? Was this meant to be this way? And because nothing is without, everything happens for a reason. And so I'm just so blessed and thankful, again, even for the technical issues that we've been experiencing, because of them, we've been able to just really break it down and just have a little bit of sister talk and inspire one another through this conversation. So before we hop off, ladies, first of all, thank you so much to Tanya for the She Experience.
Yes.
You are such an incredible woman, and the world cannot thank you enough for your gift of just loving people and just loving women and wanting to empower women. And it's because of you. Yes, She 2024 is happening at the same location, March 14th through 17th. And so, y'all, these are conversations that are had at She. And if you're just now joining, fear not. I'm going to repost this, reshare. And it's just so incredible. It's the last sips of Women's History Month. This was just absolutely perfect timing. Before we hop off, I'd love to, hear, where can we follow you both at? And how do we, kind of get in touch with you too? And what do you have that's maybe coming up of your own too?
You go ahead,
Keisha. Oh. We're so generous to each other.
I know.
So on Instagram, I am at Life and Ladle. That is the name of my social impact organization. My motto is all humans hunger, therefore all humans should eat. If you want to follow me there for just watching me fight hunger in my own way and doing my own little part, you can follow me there. My coaching website is lifewithcoachmel.com. So if you're interested in connecting with me on any sort of mindset coaching, business coaching, life coaching, that's where you can find me there as well. And yeah, I think that's where I mostly get my traffic from.
Yeah, no, and you just seem to be an incredible coach. So
Thank you
Keisha,
very much.
I am right here on Instagram at Keisha_Garrison, and that's an I before E in that Keisha. Don't get it twisted. I don't know where you end up if you go to the other way. So Keisha_Garrison. And if you would like to listen to me interview people about their life journey, I do that on my podcast, You Better, where you is the verb, trying to get people to embody more of who they actually are along their lives. And I have these conversations with people where we explore the ways that they have gone about doing that in their lives over time. So You Better with Keisha Garrison, available on all the big platforms for podcasting. And if you want to hire me to about personal discovery, personal empowerment, you go to KeishaGarrison.com and hit that
No, thank you both so much. And y'all, I'll be posting and tagging you so everybody can go and find you and follow you. But thank you so much. Y'all ladies keep doing the incredible work that you're doing and feeding all the souls along the way. And so, y'all, until next time, happy sipping.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Have a great
you.
night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.